Following the Supreme Court annulment of the Rivers State local government election held in October 2024, the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission seemed set to conduct fresh council polls. The state election umpire on Tuesday released a statement signed by its chairman and chief electoral commissioner, Justice Adolphus Enebeli, retired, announcing a stakeholders meeting for Wednesday, March 5, 2025. The electoral umpire said the main agenda of the meeting is to unveil the timetable and guidelines for the 2025 local government elections in the state. The meeting, according to the statement, is scheduled to take place at RSIEC headquarters in Port Harcourt, the state capital. Key stakeholders expected at the meeting include leaders of registered political parties, traditional rulers, security agencies, religious organizations, media representatives, professional bodies, civil society groups, community-based groups, and members of the public. On Sunday, recall, Rivers State Governor Simlaye Fubara assured the people of the oil-rich state that his administration will implement the Supreme Court's verdict after carefully reviewing its certified true copy. This followed the Friday judgment of the Apex Court, which declared the local government election conducted in the state on October 5, 2024 as invalid. In a state broadcast on Sunday, Fubara directed the heads of local government administration to take immediate control of the 23 local government councils across the state, following the Supreme Court's ruling that nullified the October 5, 2023 local government elections. Fubara stated that the civil servants would oversee affairs until fresh elections are conducted by the State Electoral Commission. The Supreme Court, in another judgment on Friday, barred the Central Bank of Nigeria, the Accountant General of the Federation, and other agencies from releasing funds to the government of Rivers State until it purges itself of what the court described as flagrant disobedience to court orders. In the judgment delivered by Justice Emmanuel Akomaye, the five-man panel of the court unanimously dismissed the cross-appeal filed by Fubara challenging the validity of the House of Assembly presided over by Martin Amehule as Speaker. In dismissing Fubara's appeal, the court ordered Martin Amehule to resume sitting immediately with other elected members of the Rivers State House of Assembly. Victor Niche, I'll start with you. What do you make of this development?
Well, I think it's becoming very indisciplined. It's becoming an unusual but usual situation where we do not even understand if we're going by the rule of law or by the intentions of people or in power or in government. Because if you read the statement from the governor, you know, and contrasts with the judgment that was issued by the Supreme Court, he talked about obeying the judgment after his lawyers have gone through the CTC. First of all, I think he's trying to be a bit uncanny, you know, by saying after you read the CTC. Your lawyers, I'm sure that his lawyers were there when the judgment was read, and they know the spirit of that judgment. They know what the implications, and I'm sure they would have, you know, explained that to him. Then secondly, you also going ahead, you know, immediately to declare that HLGAs should immediately, you know, take over. In short, he mentioned civil servant would handle the affairs of local government, which is also another flagrant disobedience to the, you know, to the rule of law, just what the judgment was talking about. I feel people are just being careless for personal and selfish reasons. Nobody is trying to sit back and say, okay, look, we've gotten this to this point in our state because we've done things outside the law. We're at this point, the election was annulled, was cancelled because of how we rush things and we don't follow things according to the law and by the book. So let us relax now and, you know, ensure that our decisions are in line with judgment or with the constitution and laws, you know, that have been established. That would have been what I'd expected. But rather, I'm seeing actors from both sides hurriedly, you know, taking decisions, you know, still in the line of disobeying court. I feel RSIEC has every right, of course, to hold stakeholders meeting. They've not actually said they want to conduct an election. I'm sure during that stakeholder meeting, they'll probably, most likely,
the purpose of that meeting is to unveil the date for the Rivers State.
That's what I'm saying. When we get, because I mean, the reason you're holding a meeting is to, of course, you should expect feedback from people that would influence your decision at the end of the day. That's what I believe. So I think we will have to wait and see what RSIEC does. For now, I think they have the rights, of course, to do what they're doing. There's nothing stopping them from doing that. However, I understand that to conduct an election is not a pocket change you should do. I understand that the state has to cough out a lot of money, you know, for you to actually take such a decision. Another question we should ask: what was the reason why the election in the first place was cancelled? We need to be sure that we're not making the same mistakes or taking the same steps that made the previous election that was done by the same RSIEC, because this is the same procedure they took. That we're not in the same spirit where we took decisions that made them cancel the election. So RSIEC should be careful, the governor should be careful to not make the same mistakes he made in the last election another time. So I'd like to give RSIEC the benefit of that. Let's see whatever they come up with. And of course, if they say they want to do an election and everything is by the books and by the law, then good and fine. Right. Because there's a lacuna that has been created by the Supreme Court judgment that still hasn't been defined what and what, because local government cannot remain vacant till 6 or 3 months. So something has to be done. So let's see what they come up with, what the government comes up with. And of course, both parties, because at this point, the State House of Assembly and the executive, which is led by the governor, should come together and ensure that whatever lacuna that has been created by the judgment is filled up as soon as possible.
All right, very well. Chris Oka, Victor has said some things, and while he was speaking, I had questions I needed to ask. But before I get to Victor, I'll ask you those questions first. While you lay bare what's your mind about this move by RSIEC. Now, considering that the elections were cancelled in the first instance because due to non-compliance with the electoral laws guiding local government elections in the states. That's on one hand. And the RSIEC calling a meeting, a stakeholders meeting, to unveil timetable for the elections. One would say, how is RSIEC going to be funded for these elections? Let's look at it critically. Now, you recall that last year, while calls were being made for RSIEC to conduct elections, some of the concerns was that, that it was not captured in the budget, and much later, somehow, RSIEC received funds to run that election. Now, the 2025 budget, apparently, I wouldn't say 2025 budget because the budget is not yet passed, unless the governor now is going to include local government elections in the budget, or I don't know how he's going to do that. So now, let's assume that the document that was submitted to a forum definitely did not come, it didn't have that local government election budget for RSIEC. Now, the question is, if there is no appropriation bill in the state, how then is RSIEC releasing a timetable? With what funds is RSIEC going to run this election, considering that, anyway, the 48 hours ultimatum will expire today, right? And recall again that the release of allocation to Rivers State is not tied to the presentation of 2025 budget. It is tied to the presentation of 2024 budget. This is a conundrum that I'm trying to figure out, like what's going on, what will be the way forward, moving forward. But then let me hear what you have to say to this and your mind on this particular issue right now.
Well, first, let me start from what the last issue you raised. I'm not aware if the Supreme Court made mention of 2024 budget.
It did.
In that ruling. Well, if the Supreme Court is saying that the governor should present the 2024 budget, then mean we have entered into, or the governor is
what Supreme Court said is that the Supreme Court restrained the Central Bank of Nigeria, the Accountant General of the Federation and other agencies from releasing allocation to Rivers State, pending when the 2024 appropriation bill is properly presented to the right House of Assembly and passed into law.
I don't want to agree with you now, because even the Rivers House of Assembly have also said, give us the 2024.
So I assume you do not. I assume you do not have the.
Supreme Court did not specify.
Hold on. I assume you know it did. Let me explain. Hold on. 2025 budget in the first instance was not a prayer before the Supreme Court. 2024 budget was a prayer before the Supreme Court.
But who knows if...
No, hold on. I assume you are not well acquainted with the ruling of the Supreme Court on this matter, yes?
Okay, we'll come to
and I'm telling you, this is what the Supreme Court has said.
It's okay. It's okay. But my point is clear. First, the cancellation or the nullification of the local government election, like my brother pointed out, was as a result of flagrant disobedience to the rule of law. And the Supreme Court looked at all that and said, no, this election cannot stand. Now, coming to the issue of the Rivers State House of Assembly and the speakership and the legitimacy of members of the Assembly, you remember that I've been in this show and I've made this point very clear that from the appeal court judgment, the appeal court made it very clear that Martin Samehule remains the speaker, that there is no record before the court that Martin Samehule was removed or his seat was declared vacant by the speaker. What we saw was some persons, like we refer to them, a furu, went to a court who now gave them an injunction to start acting like the speaker. That's totally illegality. And the Supreme Court has straightened all that Martin Samehule remains the speaker. And I've been asking myself since yesterday when I saw the notice from RSIEC, can RSIEC actually conduct election like you mentioned without the Rivers State House Assembly? Can you conduct local government election in a state without budget? Now, when the Supreme Court gave that ruling, I am sure, like you said, the 2025 budget was not part of the subject matter.
Yes.
What was before the Supreme Court? Is it 2024?
It was a consolidated judgment.
Yes. And where did RSIEC, how did the governor provide in the budget? Because the governor did not envisage that the Supreme Court will nullify the election. So how does it mean the governor prepared that there will be a nullification of local government election and made provision for it? This whole thing. But for me, I think the governor of Rivers State needs to look at, I have said this before, look at the quality of those who are advising him. Look at the quality of the lawyers who are also advising him, those who are chairing him. This is a constitutional democracy. Whether the governor is doing well or not is immaterial. The issue is that the constitution, the rule of law has to be obeyed. You don't rule people the way you think. You rule people based on the law. We have said that the governor went ahead and presented budget to 3 persons, and they called themselves members of Rivers House Assembly. And those who, even the governor's lawyer, went ahead to tell him that he should continue, that what he's doing is right. Oh, come on. And the governor has allowed such kind of persons to remain with him. They've started advising. This morning I woke up and I saw a statement from the Secretary to the Government of the Federation that the 48 ultimatum given, that the Rivers House Assembly did not communicate to them. They have started another chapter of illegality. And when the Supreme Court descend on them, we will see somebody to come on air to say he's IYC. With due respect, this state does not belong to the IYC alone. I'm an equal man.
We'll still get to that story.
So people should not come and threaten the peace of this state. The governor should do the right thing. That's what we're saying. And whether he's doing well or not, it's not my business. But follow due process. The law should be respected. Now, RSIEC is going on with local government election. Which fund? Which budget? How can you do local government election without the Rivers House Assembly? Or who appropriated the fund that you want to use in running this election? It's very unfortunate that this is the situation we found ourselves in Rivers State. And the governor has refused to learn. He has refused to listen. The judgment I saw how the Supreme Court described the governor in a manner that as a Rivers man, I became so uncomfortable with the way the Supreme Court described the governor. And the governor has refused to learn. You went into local government election, the same RSIEC chairman. All you could do is to start another process of election. You initially wasted billions of Rivers State resources in election that does not have any headway. Now you want to do another one. So people should learn how to follow the rule of law. The governor should look at some of his action and advise himself. The Supreme Court has established that Martin Samehule is the Speaker of Rivers State House of Assembly. The governor should know that the executive cannot function without the House of Assembly. you should reach out to the House of Assembly and let there be peace so that there can be understanding between the both the executive and the legislature. See, if the assembly decide to do their function the way it is enshrined in the constitution, there will be, the governor may not be able to survive. The constitution is very clear. But what we have before now is where the governor, the executive have understanding with legislature. That's why you see anything can go. But when the legislatures stand to do their work, it is going to be thorough. It's not going to be easy. What we should be expecting now is, okay, the assembly has given the governor 48 hours ultimatum. You already have the budget that you presented before the quorum. Why not you take that same budget and communicate to the assembly, okay, so that I'm coming to make presentation of the budget. Look at it. Let people see, let Nigerians see that you are obeying the rule of law. The governor came on air to say that they want to obey the rule of law. He's not okay with the Supreme Court judgment. It doesn't really matter. Now, another story they are telling us, they want to see the certified true copy of the judgment. So if you are standing trial before a court and the court convicts you, you tell them that you will not go to prison. You want to see the certified true copy of the judgment to know if actually you were sentenced or not, or convicted or not. That's to tell you how these people want to throw Rivers State into another round of crisis. And they come and pretend as if they are the peacemakers. It's just not true. But unfortunately, Lorenzo, you did not mention another aspect of this crisis. That yesterday, chairman and who were elected under Rotimi Amechi also had a press statement in line with the local government crisis.
Going by the fact that appeal court has ruled in their favor.
They are also laying claim that
and they said they want to resume and finish
they
up
have
their
resumed.
tenure.
I saw some pictures from Electoral local government and Gokana where the chairman went to council. They said that they are in charge.
Well, it's one thing to go to the council and that thing to be inaugurated and empowered to resume
but
that
we are
office.
also looking at the law.
Another thing for them to receive funds to actually run the council. There are different things. Now, that still brings the concern that is going on. You recall that the governor had said that the sacked chairman should hand over to heads of local government administration. And then the Rivers State House of Assembly, on the other hand, told the governor that it cannot happen. And they barred the heads of local government administration from conducting their affairs or overseeing the affairs of the local government administration. And they are premising their decision or their resolution on the Supreme Court judgment. Yeah. Right. Now, if that is the case, then local governments, as it were, in Rivers State right now, do not have any form of leadership. They don't have any form of leadership. So if that space is open, anybody can come in and claim to be whatever, you understand. So that is on one hand. But why I am not looking at that particular story right now, because I'm waiting for it to unfold into something more concrete. I am looking at the body language of the state government in face of the Supreme Court judgment, and the fact that RSIEC is calling stakeholders meeting, on the wake of this judgment to release timetable for another local government election. Is it not putting the horse before the cart? Or the cart before the horse, because the budget has not been presented yet. Without a budget, how can RSIEC hold elections? Or are they empowered by the Constitution to source for funds from sources? That's the question, Victor.
You know, there's something Chris said that is very important. He talked about how the way the governor was described in the judgment of the Supreme Court. I mean, if you read that judgment, or if you listen to the excerpt that came out from, of course, several persons, you understand that the judges, the 5 judges, agreed that the governor was acting intentionally, disobeying the law, acting like they said I was acting like a dictator, and not governance. They're acting like the state doesn't have a governor, but a dictator. You know, if you look at the situation that got us to this point, saying there's a lacuna, and why I choose not to speak directly to that aspect of why I think there should be no lacuna, is that the State Assembly has already done their function as an assembly to avoid that lacuna, of which the governor, of course, from what the judgment has said, that he did it in flagrant disobedience of the rule of law, instead of following the path of, you know, how do we make this happen, you know, legally, pushing out the former local government chairman. And when I say former local government chairman, I do not mean these people that were ousted, because they were never local government chairmen. From what
you mean the people that were ousted sometime in 2024?
The former local government chairman.
Yes.
By the rule of law, you cannot call
those whose tenures were extended by the Rivers State
by the
House
rule of law.
Assembly.
These persons that just left are not former local government chairmen.
They were never local government chairmen.
The same way Omaya is never addressed as a former governor of Rivers State. You cannot address them as former. So if you want to look at precedents, say, okay, look, just like these guys are coming from the 2015 from the APC, saying that since the judge, they've gotten a judgment that they, how do you explain, how does this make sense to, I mean,
the judgment in 2015.
I
fast forwarding it 10 years later.
And you know, it shows you that there are intentions to cause crisis. There are people that have decided that, look, we're going to cause crisis. What the Constitution said, 135, it said, the elected chairman, the people that were recently elected, you can elongate their term for 3 months.
6 months.
No more than 6 months.
Supreme Court judgments in local government autonomy.
Yes, that not more, that for that to allow that the governor or the state government conduct an election, so there will not be a lacuna. If you want to look at the whole situation, if the governor had obeyed or had played by the rules, we would not have been where we were. But because we knew he wanted to hijack the whole local government, he did it the way he felt, you know, would favor him. So for me, what everybody is saying is just the governor setting the pace for war. Setting, just like he had mentioned, because your actions are telling something completely different from what you are saying you want to do. As a governor, there's an issue. What stops you from lobbying the State House of Assembly? Or, because, I mean, before, what they usually do is they tell you that they've gone to Okojombo, their own House of Assembly, you know. Now, we all know that there's just one State House of Assembly. What stops the governor from going to the Assembly and said, I am not available at this point. Let us see when I will be available. I will come, I will present the budget so that we can move ahead. What stops the governor from saying, let's have a meeting? How can RSIEC, just after this mistake, come out just immediately?
Without any presentation or without any budget to the state.
It shows you how the government has been spending. It shows you, it gives credit to what the judgment said, that the governor has been spending without appropriation. It shows you that in actual fact, the governor does not care about the rule of law in terms of appropriation, because if he does, he will realize that you cannot spend billions of Rivers State money that I just recently spent without an appropriation. It is completely illegal. Even your own personal money. If something happens, when there's an emergency, you do not just start spending immediately. You have to go back and look at, okay, how much do we have? How much is coming in? How much will I have? If I spend this, you have a contingency plan. What do I do? You have a stakeholder meeting. You call the House of Assembly, look, we have so reserve fund. This is all. Can we do this? Can we do that? Before you start spending. But you just come up just immediately without having, I think I told the line of what he said. The people advising the governor, I believe, do not have the interest of the state at heart, because if they do, some of these hasty decisions that they are taking, they would not take. We all know, just like the governor, the tone of his language when he talked about crisis, it shows you that I am ready for fight. That is not what I understand. That, of course, as a governor, you should be prepared, but that should not be your premise, that you're ready for fight. You don't like war, but you are going to give the order. Because that is what we can deduce from the statement. The governor needs to understand that he is a governor.
What statement?
The one he made about the judgment, they said, where he mentioned and said that he does not like violence, but when the time comes,
no,
he's
that was not in his state broadcast. The statement was made when he was inaugurating.
No, that's what I'm saying. He was referring to the judgment. He mentioned, yes, he mentioned that.
That was when he was telling the people that he said he's
going to obey.
He's a man of peace.
Yes.
But that nobody should do anything for now. And he said something in the line of that they will be communicated in due time. So when I was reading that statement from the governor, I was now asking myself, communicate what exactly in due time?
He already said it. He said violence. He said
yes. He was speaking with. In fact, keep speaking. Let me get
when the time comes,
the statement from the
that
governor.
He's not afraid of. But when the time comes, he's going to lead the war.
Did the governor say he's going to lead the war?
Yes. Now he said it. Now he's going to lead. That's what he said.
He's going to lead the war.
Not necessarily war, but when the time comes. I mean, he was trying to be somehow trying to mind his words, but it was obvious. You said you don't like war, but when the time comes, what do you mean? What can you deduce for such statement? So for my point is, whoever is advising the governor, because at this point I believe that he should himself look at the actions you've been taking. I mean, before when this crisis started, he mentioned he usually says something. He said there's no price too much to pay for peace in Rivers State, and I still believe that is true. So the governor should not be swayed by all the people that are benefiting, or they are saying one or two things because they say if he has committed an offense against the constitution, the state assembly will take decisions. And if he's found guilty, he will be impeached. And like they say, heaven will not fall. I mean, it happened to Mayor, it happened to other judge, it happened to, what do you call him? This SDP man, I would say. There's nothing about this thing. What we need is for the governor, we agree now from the Supreme Court, that's a State House of Assembly. Work with the State House of Assembly. At least be the one to want to work with them. Let the whole world see that you have tried to work with them, but they have refused to work with you. Not on your own insist that, okay, this thing will not happen. I mean, what message are you sending as a governor? If you're the governor, nobody is taking him off as governor. He's the governor, he remains the governor. But what we're saying is the fact that you're governor does not mean that the money of Rivers State is your personal money. If you're going to spend in doing billions of naira that just recently have been wasted because, by the judgment, if you're going to spend billions of naira, we don't want a case where you're going to spend on now billions of naira that would be regarded as waste. So please, the governor needs to call himself to order. The people around him, they need to be sincere and understand that whatever decision they take at this point, is very important and it will affect the state.
Right.